everyone. This is Chishida Gogowari, so aka Blossom's Korner, and you are welcome to another wonderful session. Today, we're not going to be doing a video. This is a workshop, and the topic is mastering difficult conversations with your children. Now, this workshop promises to be insightful and it's designed to equip us parents with effective communication tools and also the strategies for handling those difficult conversations that we dread having with our children. We're also going to be gaining practical insights to foster a deeper connection with our children. Yes, as a parent coach, I appreciate and I know firsthand how tough it can be to have those conversations about like those very iffy topics, if you understand what I mean. Topics such as mental health, relationship, peer pressure, emotions, sex, puberty, drugs, alcohol, those kinds of questions. And with some of us might have even mustered up the courage to try and talk to our kids, but because it's a very sensitive topic, some of them will just shut down. Some will maybe get defensive, or some will just cut you off by saying, I don't know, or whatever question they ask them, I don't know. Now, this workshop is designed to equip us with practical tools and also scripts and the confidence to handle these tough talks without any form of arguments or awkwardness or resistance. Now, it promises to be interactive. So I'll rather you grab a notebook and a pen, and please drop questions in the chat and we'll answer them as best as possible. Now, we're going to be looking at the importance of difficult conversations. Sorry. And why is it important for us to have these conversations with our young people? Now, avoiding those conversations actually causes more harm than good. So even in as much as they are very sensitive, but they are also very crucial, they are conversations that we have to have with them. And if we avoid them or we shelve those questions and say, okay, it's not the right time, these children are going to navigate through those challenges either all by themselves where they make indelible mistakes, or they fall into the hands of people who will lead them astray. So yes, in as much as they are difficult conversations, but they are extremely very important. Now, these difficult conversations also foster open communication with our children. It actually builds a lot of trust, it reduces secrecy, and it strengthens the relationship that we have with our children. Your child will be very free to speak to you about those kinds of topics because they are confident enough to know that you give them the response that they desire. And also creating a safe space. Now, that's one of the major importance of having this conversation with our kids is that you create a safe space. Now, as teenagers, they want to speak to you. They are eager. Let me give you an example. My 10-year-old approached his dad yesterday. I said, oh, daddy, how did you feel when you started experiencing puberty? It's either he's learned it in school or maybe he's experienced something and he just wants to, test the waters. Let me see if I talk to this man about it. Let's see the kind of reaction I'm going to get. And his dad went on to teach him about wet dreams and about how his voice would crack and made him understand that he's actually going to experience them, but there's no need to panic. He was there to guide him through the entire process. So as parents, you have to make yourselves accessible. You have to make your person comfortable enough for these children to approach you and have these kinds of difficult conversations with you. Now, I want us to also reflect on previous conversations we've had with our children concerning this topic. How did we react in those times? Using the knowledge that we have now on how important these difficult conversations are, how are we now going to react, right? This will help us to understand how important it is to sit down and muster the courage to have these conversations with these young people. Now we're going to be looking at 3 common communication mistakes that parents make. And we're going to learn how to avoid pitfalls in this communication. Communication is the basis of our existence. It is the bane of our livelihood. I mean, from cradle to the grave. When a child is born, if that child does not cry, he's not going to be, it's going to be an emergency situation. That's a form of communication. When you're hurt and upset, you shed tears. That's a form of communication. So at every stage in our lives, a toddler will throw tantrums. That's a form of communication. A young person would bring up some unnecessary attitudes. That's a form of communication. Even while in our homes, in our marriages, in our places of work, we communicate both verbally and non-verbally. Up until the day we take our last breath, we are communicating. So being able to not make these mistakes, especially with our young people, is extremely very crucial in their lives. Now, the first mistake is talking too much and listening too little. Now, as parents, we are very quick to jump into correcting them, lecturing them on why they didn't do this or why they did that. But instead, let them finish what they have to say. And if possible, say, tell me more. So as a parent, instead of saying, oh, when I was your age, I would have done it this way, or I did it that way, I climbed the tallest Iroko tree, I danced with I did this, I did that. No, listen to what they have to say. Let them finish speaking and then ask them to, can you tell me more about this thing? As in how let's have a proper conversation. Secondly, dismissing their feelings. Saying to your child, it doesn't matter. You're a big boy. You shouldn't be doing that. Once you say those kind of things, what the child is hearing on the background is, shut up. That's exactly what you're saying to the child. Your feelings don't matter. And a lot of times it's put a lot of children in very awkward positions because they come to their parents and they didn't get the reaction or the response that they desired. So validate their feelings. Let them know that I heard what you're saying, or I hear you very well, and I understand that you are not happy. How can I help? Thirdly, reacting emotionally. That's another mistake that we make as parents. Your child comes to you and gives you a blow by confiding in you, and you flip, and you then start recounting all the many sins that child has committed that has culminated in that. No, as much as possible, overreacting discourages future conversations. It will make that child not come to you again. Take a deep breath and say, you know what, I appreciate you for telling me this, and we're going to work on it together. We're going to walk through it together. Let's say your child comes to you and say, Mom, you know I've smoked before. And you'll be like, oh my God, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. You are grounded. You're not going to do it. No, for every other opportunity they have to go out, you're going to do it. You're going to keep doing it until they become addicted to it. So your child saying that to you is because they are not sure. The pendulum is still swinging. Should I or should I not? Should I or should I not? So your reaction will actually be that will settle the pendulum. We'll either take it to the left or to the right. Can you please type yes in the chat if we have made any of these mistakes before? Now, I want us to be as sincere as possible. No judgment, because I have made those mistakes. I'm still making those mistakes. We are humans. It's very natural for us to react emotionally when we are told something is wrong. If you're called and says, oh, somebody just died, it's natural for you to cry. It's natural for you to react in certain ways. But because of the tenderness of the minds of these children, it's advisable for us to control how we react, manage how we react. So yes, please, let's type yes if we have actually experienced any of these mistakes before. Now, I'm going to share with us a framework on how to manage difficult conversations, and it's called the CALM method. Now, CALM is CALM, and this stands for creating a safe space where you choose moments like car rides or casual times to talk to them, but not making them feel like they are being boxed in a corner, not making them feel like you are confining them to a space where they must tell you exactly what you want to hear. No. Secondly, ask open-ended questions. Now, ask questions that will prompt more conversation. Don't just say, why did you do this? No. I want to understand what was in your mind. I want to understand what you were thinking about when you were doing this. Say your child stole. and maybe you caught your child stealing. Instead of saying, why will you go and steal? Lie, all thieves will go to hell. No. What made you need to ask a child questions like, so what were you thinking about when you went? What did you want? Were you hungry? Did you want something? And that way now it to inspire them to speak and say more than you would have actually expected. Thirdly is the L, listen without judgment. Now, even though they confess, they've said, okay, mommy, I'm sorry I did this. Listen without judgment. Don't, even your facial expression can be judgmental, right? So you don't need to say anything, but the way you're looking at them already would tell that, I'm done for, I'm finished, right? As much as possible, practice active listening. Practice active listening without interruptions. You can go to my other videos and you see a lot of content on active listening. Reflect back their feelings so that they know that you're understanding them. They know that you are in the same boat as they are. And then M is to manage your reaction. Just like I said earlier, manage how you would react. Sometimes, yes, the information is surprising, but take your time to process that surprising information that they've told you, and process it before you respond. But even when you respond in a supportive way. You know what? I know you've told me this, and or even though I'm not happy, but I'm here. I'm going to make sure that we walk through it together. Now, don't make them feel bad. Don't make them feel like they did the wrong thing by coming to you. They would never come to you again. So manage your reactions as best as possible. And then we're going to also participate in the role play here, but it's going to be a self role play. Now, with this method, the calm method, I want you to anticipate or practicalize yourself. Put yourself in your child's position. Say your son comes up to you and say, mommy, I was out the other day and my friend actually gave me vape to try. And I tried it. Now, using this new knowledge, respond using the calm method and see how it feels. It's not going to be easy. It's practice. That's why it's better for you to do the role play with yourself, right? So try to respond to such a difficult information in the most supportive way as possible. Now, this is a visual framework of the calm method. Create a safe space by selecting an appropriate moment, such as a car ride, to foster a lot of openness. Ask open-ended questions, which will encourage them to share by asking, like, what's been on your mind lately? What are you thinking about? Then they'll be able to speak up more. Listening without judgment and reflecting their feelings back at them will make them more open and receptive to speaking to you. And then also managing your emotions or your reactions by staying calm, taking a deep breath, but yet still showing support. So you can say to them, you know what, I'm here for you, okay? No matter what you've done, no matter how bad it is, we're in this boat together. And then finally, try to replicate this method in real life situations. Now, not necessarily with your children. You can do it at work. You can do it with your spouse, with your colleagues, within the community. Try to adopt this method as a means of communication, especially when faced with very difficult challenges. Now, how do we communicate through tough topics, right? I'm going to share with us strategies for navigating difficult conversations. Now, the first one is addressing reluctance to talk. Sometimes you might try to want to talk to your young person, your child, your teenager, and they're just not ready to talk about it. Don't force it. Don't insist and say, oh, you must speak to me now. No, just tell them, you know what, I'm available whenever you are. Give them that reassurance that my ears are still open, my heart is still open to you whenever it is you're ready to open up to me. Discussing vaping with teenagers. Now, vaping is like very common around us here in the UK. And it's very easy for our young people to get sucked in, into that addiction. But if your teen admits trying vaping, or just not necessarily vaping, like, oh mommy, I was out with my friends and one of them brought out vape and it looked, I like the smell, and they offered it to me and I tried it. Express the appreciation, express appreciation to the fact that your child shared that with you, and then ask them their motivation. So what motivated you? Why did you do it? Why did you think you had to do it? What, you know, it's still about open-ended questions, but now using open-ended questions, you would know exactly what prompted them, and then learn, advise them right, advise them how to either desist from communicating with those kinds of people, or being able to build their self-confidence, build their self-esteem. You would now see the laxity or the gap and say, okay, you need to build your self-esteem. You need to build the ability to say no when you do not want to do something. And also another tough topic again is navigating friendship issues. Now that's, of course, all, as once they get to a particular age, they all tend to have friends, and they'll come to you, even irrespective of the age. My 6-year-old will come and say, oh mommy, I was trying to speak to some child today, one of my friends, and he or she wasn't speaking back to me. Or my son will also say the same thing. Oh mommy, we're playing ball and one of my friends did that and did this. Or my daughter will say, oh mommy, my one of my friend group, we did this, we did that, this person said that, and that person said that. So yeah, they all have friends, even irrespective of their ages. And sometimes they can actually struggle with those friendship issues, you know, like maybe somebody's saying something behind them, or somebody did something to them and they expected the person to apologize and the person is refusing to apologize. Ask them, do you know what? Do you just want to vent? Do you just want to express how you feel? Can you handle it yourself? Or do you want me to give you advice? We need to learn to speak to our kids like that. If they just want to vent, say, okay, let's hear it. Oh, mommy, imagine he did this, he did that, he said that, he said that, she did that, she did that. And if they feel that they've gotten to a roadblock and they can't handle it again, say, okay, I'm here. Whenever if you feel you've gotten to the point where you can't handle it, I'm here. I'll give you the advice when you need it. And then also finally empower them through choice. Allow them to make the choice for themselves. Let them be the ones to choose, so that they would not come and blame you tomorrow and say, oh mommy, you made me do this, you made me choose to study this course, you made me, and you would live with that guilt. The child will also most likely even hate you, because you put them in a very difficult situation in life, and you're not there to unravel that situation with them. You are where you are. Yes, you're their parent, but you're not going to live with them for the rest of their lives. So we should not box them into certain situations. Sometimes as parents, we want our children to live the lives that we didn't have the opportunity to live. And that's not life for you. Allow them to make the choices. All we are there to do is to guide them right. Make sure that they don't make mistakes in their choices. Now, I said at the beginning that we're going to look at scripts, real life scripts, as to how to manage these issues. Now, considering those 4 strategies, these are like practical scenarios and responses. So when your child says, I don't want to talk about this, please, as best as possible, just support them. Don't force it. Don't say you have to, you must. Once we start using the word you must, then it's now becoming an imposition, and they might eventually shut you out or shut out completely. Scenario 2, the teen that says they want to vape. Learn to use open-ended questions. Do a research. What are open-ended questions? How do I get open-ended questions? Use that to encourage dialogue. You will see that if you're able to ask the right questions, you would get the right answer, and the child will get the right kind of help. Scenario 3, with friendship struggles, when offer them a choice. Let it be their own choice. Do you just want to speak to me about it, or do you want me to advise you about it? And then finally, I want you to also think up your own scripts. Like, right, so you have your children, whatever particular situations that you have. Okay, if my child says this to me, how do I respond? If I encounter this issue with my child, how do I respond? We need to start thinking about these things. Like, don't not because when you respond on the spot, then we tend to make a lot of mistakes. So we should learn to think them out, like kind of be prepared for whatever it is that's going to come. Think about the worst situations. If you have a daughter, expect the fact that one day you hear about a boyfriend. I have a 13-year-old, and I know that, okay, one day we're going to have to hear that conversation, right? The same with the girl. Well, with the little one as well. Once the little one starts experiencing puberty, we're going to go through those kinds of very difficult conversations. So start preparing yourself. It's not easy. It is not easy as a parent. Trust me, from a personal point of view, when my daughter started, when she started seeing her period, it was difficult for me to have that conversation with her. To be honest, I would confess I had to call for backup, because it's not something that I could just sit down and, speak with her all by myself. So I had to call for backup. And yes, I had enough backup to have that conversation with her. So in our closing thoughts, I want us to share our biggest challenges with the tough talks that we've had with our children. I'm also going to share my conversation starter guide. So remember, I said if you're here up until now, you get something good. So for you to have stayed on up until this time, you're going to receive a free child conversation starter guide to help break the ice between, as in communication, because it can be difficult. Communication can really be very tough. And also implement any of the scripts, the calm method, preferably. Try to implement it in your communication with your child this week. Also, you can actually book a one-to-one coaching if you feel you've tried all of this and you're actually in a very tough spot. So you can speak to me and we will try to unravel parenting together. That's what I'm here for. Parenting is like a haze, it's like a mayhem, and we need guidance to be able to unravel it all together. Your participation was indeed very valuable, and I want to thank you all so much. But before we go, I'm going to give us a taster session. So this is like an action plan for parenting. These are steps to strengthen our connection with our children. Try a new strategy. Schedule your practice time. Think about it every day. Okay, if my child says this, what am I going to say? Or how am I going to react? Set reminders for calm listening. So whenever your child speaks to you, always remind yourself, I have to be calm. I have to create a safe space. I have to ask open-ended questions. I have to listen without judgment, and I have to maximize or ensure that I react in a manageable way. Okay. And then I'm also going to put on my seller shop, I have the parent-child connection guide. You can actually go there and get a copy for yourself. It's a few pounds. A copy for yourself for additional communication tools on how to speak with your child. Learn to use the calm method in every area of your life. Learn to adopt the calm method. You can actually write it out very boldly. You can take a screenshot of the visual framework and bolden it out and put it where you see it as often as possible, so that whenever you're prompted or you encounter such a situation, it would be easy to pull out. And also join our parenting community wherever you see Blossom's Corner, on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube. Please join, subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. On Spotify, we've just set up our podcast on Spotify as well. Wherever you find Blossom's Corner, please as much as possible, join the community. Yes, like I said earlier, you can book a one-on-one coaching session so that we can unravel parenting together, to enhance your parenting skills. Like I said earlier, thank you very much for attending. I'm also going to include in this a workbook. So this workshop comes with an actual workbook that you can practicalize all these tips and topics and points that we've talked about. I'm going to also include an attachment of the workbook in this. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending and for listening. I hope you have a wonderful time. All right, take care of yourself. Bye.